The bailiff dropped his pen. It made a small clink on the polished floor, but in that silence, it sounded like a gunshot. She was on the stand, pale, composed, hair tied back, no tears. And after the boat capsized, I did, but he drowned. Her voice didn't shake. A courtroom full of strangers, and yet I felt every eye peel into my skin as I stepped forward. My steps didn't echo. I didn't let them. Silence was a blade, and I had waited a long time to hold the handle again. She turned, her eyes widened, just for a second, and then the mask, that perfect little mask. The prosecutor turned pale. The judge leaned forward. My death certificate sat neatly in Exhibit B, signed, dated, certified. I was already buried, on paper, in memory, in her story. And yet, here I stood, very much alive. She hadn't expected me to survive the lake. She hadn't expected me to remember the darkness pulling me under. She hadn't expected the fishermen. But most of all, she hadn't expected me to stay quiet. She'd told the world I was dead. I gave her time to believe it. 2 weeks before the hearing, I stood outside my own house. She had moved on. New car, new curtains, same wedding ring. I watched her kiss him at the door. Tall, polished, confident in the way men are when they think no one is watching. He touched her like he owned her, like he thought I wouldn't mind. I hadn't come back for her. I came back to understand. Because I didn't drown. She pushed me. It wasn't rage. There was no scream, no flailing, just her hand on my back, firm, final. It had taken me too long to believe it wasn't panic, that it wasn't an accident, that her stillness wasn't shock. It was satisfaction. But seeing her with him, smiling like she hadn't planned my obituary, that rewrote everything. There was no storm on the lake, only still water, and betrayal buried beneath it. I rented a room under a false name 4 towns away. No one questioned the scars, the silence. I started with the bank records. Passwords hadn't changed. Her patterns never did. A transfer 2 days after I died. $180,000 from our joint account to a private one in her name. Insurance. Double indemnity clause. Accidental death by drowning. It was all there. Every digit, every date. Clean. I found the emails next. To him. Months before I disappeared. Soon, she wrote. Soon we'll be free. No names, but the tone was hers. That mix of desperation and control. She told him things she never told me, and things she never meant for anyone to find. I printed everything, slowly. Each page a piece of her unraveling. Then the footage. Security cam near the dock. She didn't know about it. She followed me out that day. Too calm, too quiet. And when I bent over the edge to check the rope, her hands moved like she'd done it before. Push, pause, watch. Then she walked away. That was the moment I stopped doubting. I didn't speak when I handed her the folder. We sat in a cafe on a quiet Tuesday, sunlight slanting through the blinds like prison bars. She opened the first page, paused, and then she smiled. A tiny twitch in the corner of her mouth, like a spasm she couldn't control. "This is insane," she whispered. "You're sick." "I know," I said. She flipped through the pages. Insurance claims, transaction receipts, emails, and finally, the still image. Her pushing me. Silence. Then the color drained from her face. I just watched. She looked up like she was about to cry, but there were no tears. Only the flicker of calculation. She was trying to find the angle, the way out, but I'd closed every exit. I stood, calm. "You're going to tell them everything. And if I don't?" I leaned in, just close enough. "Then I show them what a ghost looks like when it testifies." She did it. She stood in court and told them I drowned, that she tried to save me. I waited until she finished, let her wrap the noose herself. Then I walked in. I let the truth detonate without raising my voice. One step into the courtroom was enough. They turned. Gasps. Phones. The sound of a world unraveling. Her lawyer dropped his pen. Her lover, sitting behind her, went pale. She turned slowly. Our eyes met. I nodded once. Not in greeting, in ending. No words, not anymore. The judge called for order, but there was no order left. She didn't cry. She never does. But I saw it. That tiny fracture in her expression. The collapse starting from behind her eyes. I left before the hearing ended. My part was done. I didn't return for the verdict. Didn't need to. I saw enough. She'll never speak in that calm, controlled voice again. Not after the world saw the monster in her smile. They'll call it attempted murder, fraud, conspiracy. They'll write my name correctly this time, alive. But I died the day she pushed me. The man who loved her never made it out of that lake. What surfaced instead was someone else, someone colder, someone patient, the kind of man who doesn't haunt you from the grave. He watches you decay above it, and he never forgets who held him under.